What's up, Siva?
My father's in town. He came to see me last night, alone. Even his own people do not know he's here. I know it sounds bad, and this is the last thing you want to deal with, but I did not want to hide anything from you.
Why is he here?
Spend time with me? Or so he says.
That is a scene from tonight's episode of NCIS, the CBS drama about criminal investigators working for the Navy and the Marines. Cote de Pablo has been a regular for the past 8 seasons. She's with us along with senior correspondent John Miller, a former FBI deputy director who, guess what, has worked with the real NCIS. John Miller, this is what I got, 2 badasses sitting at the table. And that's what I think is so much fun about your show, Cote, because she is a badass, but she also manages to show vulnerability and emotion from time to time.
Yes, she does. And I think the writers and I think the people like to see that. And I've always said that I've never thought vulnerability is a bad thing. I think vulnerability is a strength. And I think if people were able to be more comfortable with their vulnerability, I think we'd be a more honest people.
Now you have Leon Carroll there, who's a retired NCIS agent, who's on set, who's looking at the scripts. But when you have a question of what would an agent do here, or how would you take this door or clear this room, is that useful?
Of course. You know, we are actors, and as actors, we are very curious people by nature, and we may have an idea of how to do things, but the reality is that we're not trained, you know, and we have to ask, and we rely on our curiosity to sort of do things the proper way. Thank God we have somebody like Leon Carroll every day at the stages that's able to sort of clarify and clear certain things in order for us to really do our jobs well.
But your character is considered the most dangerous member of the team, and what was fascinating to me is that you had never held a gun before you took this role.
Yes, I often talk about that.
Yeah.
Was I nervous?
Yeah.
That's an understatement. The first day I ever went to the shooting range, I was there with Leon and a couple of men, very, very nice men, and they gave me the gun, you know, and they said, well, you're going to hold the gun and blah, 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 and I thought, oh God, you know, be very strong because you don't want to show them that you're weak.
Yes, yeah.
So I held that gun, and I remember holding the gun and just trembling. I was just, and I just kept on saying, just get it together, just get it together, you know. So finally I got my hand on the gun, and then finally I started shooting, and it wasn't until I heard the first shot that I finally went, okay, that's done, that's done.
How do you think it compares, John, to the real, because I would imagine a real NCIS agent isn't trembling. How do you think it compares?
Well, I mean, the show measures up pretty well to NCIS on a number of levels. First of all, NCIS agents went all around the world. I mean, they're 2,500 NCIS agents in 25 different countries at 166 locations. So if you do the math, they're spread very thin. So they have to be independent. They work in small teams. But everywhere they went, they'd say NCIS, and they'd show that badge, and people would say, who?
Yes.
But this series has been on 10 years. When they go around and they say NCIS, it's like FBI. It's instant recognition. They don't have their own medical examiner like Ducky on the show. There's no morgue in the basement. But the offices look like the Washington field offices, and the cases they choose and the storylines are largely from NCIS cases. So it's close enough for TV and pretty real.
No, I always think that the way that they analyze things, I'm always fascinated with the fibers. There's always getting information from something as simple as a fiber on the show.
Yes, they love that. And the person that actually does that very well is obviously Polly Perret, who's, you know,
I love her
plays the character
too.
of Abby, you know, Shuto, and everyone has their own strengths.
But you play an Israeli agent on the show.
I do. I do.
And you got into character doing that how?
Well, it's funny because I was actually telling you,
what was the story that she was telling you?
Because she had to study with the NCIS agents about how to look and act like an agent, but how do you go from being Chilean, born and raised in Miami, to Israeli and Hebrew?
It's an ongoing thing because obviously when I read the sides for the audition, the character was European, but it was kind of generic. They didn't quite specify where she was from, and so I came in and I did a Czechoslovakian accent. Don't ask me to do it because I have no idea.
Okay, I won't.
That is today. But So I did sort of a generic European accent, and then within 48 hours of actually getting the part, they changed the part to an Israeli woman. And then within 48 hours of that, I had to shoot. And then they gave me a huge monologue that I had to learn in Hebrew, and that's when I went plop. That was hard.
Should we dare ask you to talk in Hebrew?
You should not.
Okay.
Because I learned that phonetically, and it's not like Spanish that rolls off my tongue.
Well, you're very popular in Israel, so mazel tov.
Thank you.
Mazel
Thank you.
tov.
Thank you.
Tonight's a really good episode. You said you make no apologies for the emotion she shows tonight. We'll be watching.
Thank you.
Thank you, Cody.